So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Yuki back here, BSN Arc. This is the BSN Arc podcast here today. It is Tuesday, August 3rd. Hopefully everybody had a good day yesterday and having a good day so far here today. It is in fact Tuesday, August 3rd here today, coming off of another night in baseball as the New York Yankees and New York Mets both fail to win, as the New York Yankees drop just a flat-out terrible performance against a terrible Baltimore Orioles team. 7-1, they get smoked. There was no life in the building. There was no passion. There was no energy. The New York Yankees were flat. There was no energy. They looked flat out terrible last night, and just another one of these head-scratching losses for the New York Yankees. And this is how it's been this entire year, and I talked about this yesterday. It's been this way this entire year. Like, we love to win, right? When we win, you're happy. You're happy. We won. But this has been the issue with the Yankees all season. You sweep a series, you come out, and you lose. And that's kind of been it this entire year. The Yankees had a relatively pretty good road trip outside of that Boston series. They had a good road trip. Outside of the Boston series, they went, 5-1? So they had a pretty good road trip. And, even in the Boston series, they could have took 3 out of 4. Now you come back home. Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo, it's their debuts. You have a 7-game homestand to open up. It's your first time being back home since you made all the acquisitions. And you just get blown up. And you just get crushed. And these are the losses that are unacceptable. These are the losses that are going to hurt you when you're trying to make a playoff push down the road in September. And if that Rays series in October will mean anything. That's what these losses will start to hurt you down the road. Right now, it's on paper, it's a loss and it's terrible. But these are the losses where if you look back on the season and we don't make the playoffs, these are the losses where you look at and you said, wow, this is terrible. It's the blown losses. It's the losses that you should have won. It's the teams that you should have beaten. You get crushed like they did last night. And it's not even like it was a close game. It's not like we lost 4-3 in extra innings. No, we lost 7-1. We got smoked. And just a brutal loss. And like I said, I was talking to someone I was watching the game with. By that third, fourth inning, there was no energy. I sat there and I was like, yeah, no way we're winning this game. There was no energy. There was no passion. Nobody getting hits in the big moment. Grounding into double plays. Just terrible. Terrible. Absolutely awful. And we lose. So, Yankees have a terrible night last night. They got to find a way to win today and then win tomorrow. And even if they win the next two, sure, you win the series, but the Orioles should have been an easy sweep, and we don't get the job done, which makes today a must-win, by the way. Because if we lose today, I don't care if we salvage the final game of the 3-game set or what. This is automatically a terrible series. If we find a way to win the series, it's like, okay, it's eh. And if you find a way to take 3 or 4 against Seattle, this loss will hurt less. But right now, this loss hurts a lot. And the Mets lost as well last night. Mets are struggling, losing 4 to their last 5. So the Mets are struggling. Yankees, I shouldn't say are struggling, but they just got smoked by the Orioles, so that was a terrible performance. And we got more negative news about the Yankees today is Garrett Cole tested positive. So he won't be starting tonight, as Nestor Cortez will instead be starting in his role. That's what Aaron Boone said last night. Nestor Cortez is expected to start. So don't quote me on that. He's likely it's going to be Nestor, but they still could go and choose a different option. But more than likely, it's going to be Nestor Cortez. So Garrett Cole test positive for COVID, which is not good news. Losing your ace. Hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later, because he's our best pitcher. We need him. And so we'll see how that plays out. So Nestor Cortez probably will be starting today. Then tomorrow I'd assume it's going to be Tyone, and then so on and so forth. It goes to regular rotation. And Nestor Cortez will probably be in Cole's spot until he comes back or something like that. The Yankees have not officially announced it. I'm sure they will closer to game time. So Yankees lost, Mets lost, Yankees, Mets, both second games. of their series today. Mets down in Miami, Yankees back home. The Yankees got to find a way to win. Simple as that. We don't win today. If we don't win today, the media tomorrow for the New York Yankees is going to be buzzing, and it's going to be all negative. So, Yankees got to find a way to win today. Hopefully we can. If you win today and you win tomorrow, you win the series, well, it's nice, but, like I said, if we win these next 2 games, and then you win 3 out of 4 against Seattle, and you go, 5-2 on the homestand, all of a sudden that takes the bad taste out of your mouth. If we win 2 and then beat Seattle, sweep them, then you're 6-1. Then it's nice. But it's a homestand too. It's a 7-game homestand. Like you can't, like we got to take advantage of this. Not many we were just got on the road. An opportunity here, 7 games at home. We gotta find a way here. So Yankees Mets play today. Packed podcast as always today. Ton of NBA free agency stuff, ton of football stuff. So let's get to the topics for today's podcast. I wanted to get to Carson Wentz. Big news coming out of the Indianapolis Colts as Carson Wentz will undergo foot surgery and he will be out 5 to 12 weeks with the injury. So Carson Wentz, the new acquisition, the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, obviously after Phillip Rivers retired. Carson Wentz was in a deal that they traded Carson Wentz to the Colts, and Carson Wentz is now injured, and he is now going to miss definitely the first part of the season, and he could very well miss almost half the season. If he goes, he could almost miss about 3 months with this foot injury. And yet again, the injuries hurt Carson Wentz. We will get to this. I wanted to talk about what this means for the Colts, a possible move they could make instead of throwing out Jacob Easton or whatever, the rookie starting quarterback, instead of throwing him out there into the fire. They need to go out and sign someone. I'll talk about who they could, and just talk about Carson Wentz in general and the risk that the Colts were taking when they made this trade. We'll get into that. Then we'll get into the NBA free agency. The NBA blew up yesterday, literally. With the free agency opening yesterday, there was moves left and right. Obviously, the Nets were relatively quiet. We did re-sign Jeff Green, or not Jeff Green, rather. Jeff Green signed elsewhere. He did not re-sign with us. We did re-sign Blake Griffin, and Spencer Dinwiddie was nearing a deal with the Wizards. So, out of the 3 guys that the Nets were looking to sign, looks like we got 1 out of 3. I know a lot of Net fans want Dinwiddie back. I'm not a huge fan of Dinwiddie. I'm really not. I just find that he just a little bit of a ball hog, doesn't pass much, kind of shoots, kind of does his own thing. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan. I just don't think he would be able to fit with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Harden. As much as people think he would, when you already have 3 ball-dominant players and you have another guy who's trying to be a ball-dominant player, I just don't really know if it's a massive need. That's just my opinion. But either way, Knicks also made some moves. They went out and spent some money, re-signed Noel, Rose, and Alec Burks, and they also signed Evan Fournier. So they made some moves yesterday. They did not sign Chris Paul, but they definitely made some moves, and some moves that I think are good. I mean, it's not like they settle for a constellation prize, but they did make some moves. So we'll get to that. Then we'll finish off the podcast with a New York sports update. Tough night last night for baseball. Mets and Yankees both lose, so and they both lost to terrible teams. I mean, the Mets lose to the Marlins, not a good team, and the Yankees lose to the Orioles, even a worse team. So Yankees got to find a way to win today. I'm going to keep repeating myself. I'm going to sound like a broken record. We've got to win today. You lose today. If you lose today, I mean, that's sad. That's really upsetting. But, let's try to be positive, and let's try to say the Yankees will come out today and win. And maybe they do. Maybe they come out and realize, guys, we just lost to the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe that's the case. The Yankees right now inside the locker room could be like, guys, we just lost to the Orioles. Nothing against the Orioles, but they're terrible. They're 29 games below 500. And even if they are good, the Yankees have always seemed to dominate them. So even if they were decent, the Yankees always seem to have their number. There's always those teams where one team just seems to dominate. No matter how good the other team is, that one team always seems to dominate. Yankees are like that with the Orioles. Couldn't get the job done last night. So, lot to get to. Another packed podcast, and there's more to talk about. I wanted to get to Tyone winning AL Pitcher of the Month. I'll probably get to that tomorrow. any other NBA news. I want to get some NFL stories. Yankees. If the Yankees lose today, I'll probably talk about it tomorrow. Just talk about how bad it is. But ton to get to. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Colts Carson Wentz will undergo foot surgery, out 5 to 12 weeks with injury. As you all know, NFL training camp has started up. It is in full swing. This is the third week for many teams. I think the second week for many of the teams out there for training camp. It's great to see training camp. Great to see football back and going. And actually, in 2 days, we're going to have a football game. In 2 days, we'll have the Cowboys and Steelers face off in the Hall of Fame game. That should be an exciting game. That's always a fun game. That should be exciting. To get football back. It's not anything major. Obviously, it's a Hall of Fame game. It's the first preseason game. You're not going to see Dak Prescott out there and throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. But you'll see, some of the other guys. You might see some young guys in there. You're gonna get to see football, and that's really it. It doesn't matter who's in, who's out. It's football. That's really all that matters. So there's been a lot going on. To be honest, this year actually with the training camp, the injuries have not been terrible. There's been a couple injuries, not like last year, though, where last year you had guys dropping like flies. You had guys getting injured left and right, and that even, I feel like, not even just training camp, that even leaked into the season where there was a lot of injuries, a lot of guys getting hurt, and a lot of things like that. So, obviously, the Colts this season come into the season with a new quarterback, and like I said, they've been pretty clean on the injury front, too. It's not like they've had any major injuries or anything outside of this, but even throughout the league, there hasn't been major injuries. Obviously, outside of Cam Akers, that happened at an off-site event, so that wasn't like an injury that happened in training camp, but he got injured. Now Wentz got injured. There's a couple guys that are recovering from injuries that haven't practiced yet, but that's not really getting injured. So training camp is obviously always a little bit of a tough time because you want to try your best to simulate the game. You want to try your best to get the guys ready, but at the same time, you want to stay them healthy. You don't want them having them going 110% at each other, and oh no, you got a guy with a leg injury now that's going to miss a couple weeks. And that's now what's happening with the new Colts quarterback in Carson Wentz. Obviously, the Colts acquired Carson Wentz this offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles in a big trade. I forget exactly all the logistics in the trade. I talked about it, I know. I forget what all was swapped. It happened all the way back in January, February, I think. February happened. I know it was him and the Matt Stafford trade was the 2 trades of the offseason to that point. And then obviously we got some more towards the rest of the season. But obviously Carson Wentz, when he was with the Eagles, and this has been the one concern with Carson Wentz this entire offseason, it's not just this entire offseason, but his entire career, this has been the one issue with Carson Wentz, he's been staying healthy. Can he stay healthy, rather? And throughout his career, when he first entered the league, he had that big MVP season and all that stuff, and then he tore his ACL. Ever since he tore his ACL, everything's been downhill since. And I think the Indianapolis Colts and the Colts front office and the Colts coaching staff knew that they were taking a risk going out and signing Carson Wentz, who has been very injury prone, a guy who ever since he tore his ACL has not been the same quarterback we saw before his torn ACL, right? Then when he tore his ACL, that was the season that he was an MVP candidate. I don't believe he ended up winning the MVP, but that was because his season got cut short about 4 or 5 weeks and what it really should have. Ever since that torn ACL, he has not been the same quarterback. And the Colts knew, like I said, what they were getting themselves into signing him. And everything was going perfectly fine up until most recently here, where now he gets the foot injury. And this is like a reality check for Carson Wentz. Is it time maybe to just reset and just think about what type of quarterback he wants to be? Because Carson Wentz, when he started his career, he was very mobile. He was he was mobile. He was running left and right. He was getting first downs with his legs, in his arm, in the air. He was doing it all. This was a guy that was making plays left and right. The Eagles fans were gathering around him. The city of Philadelphia was pumped up about him. And then he got injured and everything went downhill from there. And ever since that, he hasn't been the same quarterback. And I believe it's been because he's avoided trying to run. He's avoided he's been a little bit afraid of getting sacked, getting pressured. He's avoided being that mobile quarterback he once was. He's trying to throw too much. And now another injury pops up with his foot here. And now he's going to miss another upwards to about 3 months, which, since it's August, it's probably he'll be back, October, November-ish, which isn't, I guess, awful, but it's still not amazing. This is almost like an opportunity here for the Colts and Carson Wentz to reassess what type of quarterback is Carson Wentz. Is he going to be a guy that can give you a couple wins here and there, but he's not going to be healthy? Or can he truly be a franchise guy that helps your team get to the playoffs? Not saying win Super Bowl, but get to the playoffs, win games, win against some good teams, beat some good teams, make some big plays. Yet again, this is like a reality check for Carson Wentz. And hey, right now the Eagles look like geniuses making this trade. Because now the Eagles, they got their young quarterback in Jalen Hurts, although Devontae Smith got hurt too. Not as severe as Carson Wentz. But they got Devontae Smith, they got Jalen Hurts, they got all of them. And, the Eagles, I still think are going to stink this season. But they got their quarterback. And now the Colts thought they had their quarterback, and now all of a sudden, he's injured and he's going to be out for a little while. So right now, the Colts and Carson Wentz right now are making the Eagles look like geniuses, although the Eagles still, I believe, have to pay a lot of Wentz's salary, so that's one negative part of it. But right now, the Eagles dumping off Carson Wentz is actually looking like a pretty smart move. At first, we all expected it to be a kind of a smart move, but we expected it to work out for both sides. Eagles get what they want, and that's to develop Jalen Hurts and turn him into their franchise quarterback. And the Colts get what they want, a replacement for Rivers, who signed a 1-year contract with them. Bring in Wentz, bring in a guy who maybe has a little bit of renewed energy, a little bit of a different Wentz rather. Trying to find the perfect word there. Bringing a guy, like I said, with renewed energy, maybe a different, mindset on things, going into a different scheme. Kind of a fresh start for Wentz. Like, when this trade was made, this was not a trade that all of us reacted to and said, wow, they're going to make the Super Bowl this year, or wow, the Colts just became the most dominant team in the AFC. That's not what this move was all about. This move was about getting a quarterback in here, getting a quarterback to the Colts to build some culture around him, to build around him. Wentz is still relatively young, right? With Rivers retiring, you needed to find a replacement. Instead of going out and maybe moving up in the draft or something like that, they went out and traded for Wentz, who's already got experience. He's had a couple really big moments. He's struggled staying healthy, but they thought that if he could stay healthy, he could make big strides. You got a nice receiving core around him. You brought back T.Y. Hilton. Michael Pittman's in his second year. Right, you look at that team and you start seeing like it starts to round out a little bit. You got a very good offensive line in front of him. Like the Colts, this was like the perfect situation for Carson Wentz and the Colts to try and change him and make him into the quarterback that he once was. And yet again, the injuries are getting in the way. And it's a foot injury. It's the lower half. It's not an upper body injury. It's not an arm injury. It's not a shoulder injury. It's his lower body. It's his foot and his torn ACL, his knee. That's a big issue for a quarterback that wants to be mobile and that tries to be mobile. And ever since that torn ACL, I've said it. For the longest time now, he's not been the same quarterback. You watch him, he doesn't run as much. He's trying to be too much of a pocket passer. And this is the last thing you need if you're the Colts, is him to have a foot injury, which now his confidence might even go lower now with the foot injury. Because now, like, as a player, when you start to get injured, it starts to pressure you to stay healthy. Like, you start now to have the pressure. Like, the pressure's on. Same thing with Aaron Judge this season with the Yankees. The pressure is on for him to stay healthy. Outside of the stint on the COVID list, he's been healthy. He's not been injured. But this is the same thing with Wentz here. Like, all of a sudden, like, you get pressure. Like, if you're not doing good, you have pressure to do good. If you get injured and you continue to get injured and you can't stay healthy and you're not the same guy you used to be, you all of a sudden have the pressure on you to stay healthy. And I do believe with Wentz coming in, a new quarterback, being a new face in the locker room, kind of being their new guy, the Colts wanted him, they got him, Frank Wright and Wentz working together, the new offensive line, all that stuff. He kind of had pressure to stay healthy, and now he's not healthy, and now he gets injured. And now the Colts, like their whole plan for the season, just backfired on them. Because now they're going to miss their starting quarterback could miss their starting quarterback here up to 3 months. We do know that he'll at least miss the first couple weeks of the season, maybe more. And the Colts got to find a solution. Because there's no way they can roll out Jacob Eason out there and hope that he wins them some football games. The Colts are now thrown into a role August 3rd to go out and try to get a quarterback that can get the job done, get him into the system, and let him learn it by the end of the month. The Colts are now in a very, very odd and just kind of like just not a good situation. Do they go out and get Nick Foles? That's a possibility. Do they stick with the second stringers and the third string? That's a possibility. I mean, if I was the Colts right now, you either try your best to strike a trade, not mean go out and try to get like a Watson or someone like that, because if you get Watson, well, all of a sudden the whole Wentz trade just is out the window. Do you go out and get a Nick Foles maybe? A guy who is Chicago has been receiving calls to get traded. Right now, he's the third string in Chicago, which I don't quite understand. I believe he's better than Andy Dalton, probably. Maybe I should take that back. Actually, him and Dalton are kind of the same. They're I mean, they're old. They're not the same quarterbacks they were. Not that Foles was this dominant QB at any time, but Dalton had some very good moments with the Bengals. Going to the Cowboys, he had some moments last season, but other than that, he's average to below average. And you go, obviously, to Foles. You could pick up Foles. I think you pick up Foles, personally, because he's a guy that's going to bring veteran presence to the locker room. Once Wentz comes back, it's not like he's going to be your starter. Wentz and Foles have already worked together. So once Wentz comes back, boom, Foles is back into that second role. And Foles and Wentz have already been together, obviously, in Philadelphia. We all know Foles going and making that playoff run. I mean, that was like a magical run. So we already know that if Wentz and Foles have got a relationship, and they know each other, and that makes it a lot comfortable. And Wentz, too, could help out Foles a little bit, getting him to a new scheme, teach him, and all that stuff. It's kind of like 50-50 there. That could be a smart move. I think it's an awful move to stick with Jacob Eason or whatever it is. Not trying to be negative, but a rookie that has not shown anything that he could really be a star quarterback, that move is just not smart. That's almost like putting Ben DiNucci out there for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just, no. And the Colts have high expectations going into this year. I mean, Wentz had high expectations. Colts had high expectations. Now, all of a sudden, they don't have a quarterback. And they got to find one quickly. So, Wentz injuries come again and hurt him. It just can't stay healthy. Some guys have this. I mean, some guys just cannot stay healthy. And as a fan, I know it's frustrating. I'm sure it's even more frustrating for him because you do everything you do in the offseason, work out, you throw, you train, all that stuff, and then you come to the season and in training camp, boom, you got a foot injury. He just struggles to find a way to stay on the football field. And ever since that torn ACL, Carson Wentz has not been the same quarterback, and who knows if he'll be able to bounce back and really be the same quarterback. Because I've said, this is a guy who's trying to be a pocket passer when he's a mobile quarterback. He's mobile. He's a guy that can run, but he's trying too much to be a pocket passer, and it's not working. And we've seen the stats, we've seen the numbers, we've seen what he's been doing recently. Alrighty, so let's get to this. So Colts Carson Wentz will undergo foot surgery, out 5 to 12 weeks with injury. Indianapolis Colts quarterback Carson Wentz is expected to miss between 5 and 12 weeks because of surgery on his foot, Coach Frank Wright told reporters Monday. It's been a brutal start for Wentz in Indianapolis. In his first training camp with the Colts since the Philadelphia Eagles traded him in March, the 28-year-old was held out of practice last week with a foot ailment. It was in March. I don't know why I thought it was earlier than that, but it was in March when they traded for him. Indianapolis planned to use rest and rehab programs to avoid surgery, but Wright said Wentz will undergo a procedure after further evaluation. He added it was an old injury that caused the bone to come loose. NFL Network's Mike Garafolo via NFL.com's Adam Maya noted the downside to not getting surgery. This is what it is. A caveat to powering through the alignment is that medical personnel believe the 60-year quarterback would be much less mobile. NFL Network's Mike Garafolo reported. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, he would be much less mobile, but he hasn't used his mobility in the past couple of years ever since he's torn his ACL. So that's another thing here. People are all complaining, oh no, what's going to happen with his mobility? Well, his mobility, he's been gone ever since he tore his ACL. I believe it's in his head. I do. He won't say it publicly. He won't come out and say it. But I do believe it's one of those things where it's ever since his torn ACL, he has not been right. Look at the numbers. He's not been the same quarterback. Simple as that. That was a trademark of Wentz's game in Philadelphia, where he led the team to 3 consecutive playoff appearances, but was unable to close out each of the seasons because of injuries. Jacob Eason, Brett Hundley, and Sam Ehlinger are listed as backups, but none offer the production the starter was hoped to provide. In 12 games last season, Wentz passed for 2,620 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions for a 49.6 QBR. He was benched after Week 13, which spelled the end of his time in Philadelphia. Indianapolis was meant to provide a second chance for the 2016 number 2 overall pick when he reunited with Wright, his former offensive coordinator with the Eagles, like I mentioned. That would also make sense for Foles, because he was there when Wright was there. Foles just checks all the boxes. Bring in a quarterback, he can be, he could win you some games. He does the job. He's already been in the system. He knows Wentz and him played together. I mean, instead of going with one of these young quarterbacks that are unproven, go with Foles, bring a veteran. That might still be the case, but Colts fans will have to wait a while before Wentz takes the field. Now, Jacob Eason, Brett Hundley, and Sam Ehlinger. I mean, Brett Hundley, I think, is the only guy on that staff there that has had playing time. This is why, people, backup quarterbacks are actually important. I mean, you need to have a decent backup. You never know. Brett Hundley, I do believe, played a game or two, I thought. Yeah, he's played. So he played in 2019. He played in Green Bay in 2017. Was that preseason? No. Was that the year? I think was that the year Rodgers was hurt? Why did he play so much in Green Bay in 2017? Was Rodgers hurt in 2017? Was that the year where he had the shoulder injury or whatever? Let's see. 2017. Yeah, he did not play much in 2017. Rodgers. Let's look at Rodgers. Hold on. I want to see something. I did not know. I forgot that 2017 was like such a bad year for him. So Brett Hundley's the only one out of the 3 that's got experience. He played a lot in 2017. Yeah, 2017, Rodgers only played 7 games. Why don't I remember that? I thought that was that the year where he got injured, came back, played, and then he got injured again or something? I don't know. But either way, Brett Hundley played a ton in 2017. He played, about 9 games or so. So he played. He's the only guy in that entire staff that's got experience. And in the season that he played, he did not do very well. He had 9 touchdowns and 12 interceptions with a QBR of 70.6 and 1,836 yards. So, and Hundley's now at the Colts, obviously, he's done nothing. So, it's one of these interesting things where you're going to have to make a decision. Do you go with one of the young guys, see if they can give you anything? I mean, Sam Ehlinger had a pretty good career with Texas, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes by any means, but you'll never know. A lot of these guys, as much as I'm not saying any of these guys will be Hall of Famers, but a lot of these guys that you don't even try, you'll never know what they were. I mean, some guys come out and they break out in the NFL. I mean, you got to just see what happens. But I mean, either way, you're in an iffy situation, because if you do go out and get Foles, that's all good and stuff. You're gonna have to give stuff up. But then, once Wentz comes back, let's say Wentz comes back after 5 weeks. So that's like week 3 maybe. Okay, what do you do then? Like, that's the thought process maybe that the Colts are going through. instead of going out and trying to get Wentz, or instead of trying to go out and get Foles for maybe him to only play a couple weeks, just try your best, get some production out of 3 quarterbacks you got. Wentz comes back week 4. Worst case scenario, you're 1-3 or whatever. Week 5, he comes back, you're 1-3. Well, now he takes over, and I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say worst case scenario you're 1-3, because if you're 1-3, your playoff chances are really low. But the Colts' playoff chances just go from here to here. And I'm not saying Wentz is no stud quarterback, but who do you have outside of Wentz? Jacob Eason, Brett Hundley, and Sam Ehlinger? They're really going to be the guys that are going to get you the job done? I don't think so. So, Wentz get hurts again. Are the Colts doomed without Wentz? I don't know if I would say yes or no, because I feel like I'm 50-50. If they can't find another quarterback that can give them production, yes, they're doomed. If they go out and get Foles, I wouldn't say they're doomed. I'm not saying Foles is a stud quarterback. What I'm saying is I would take Foles every day over Brett Hundley, Sam Ehlinger, or Jacob Eason. Nothing against those 3 guys, but Brett Hundley's played in the NFL before. He stunk. Eason and Ehlinger have not taken snaps in the NFL, and nor do any teams expect them to be successful. Nick Foles, not that he's this great player, but I think he's the best option out of the 3. Or they go out and shock us all and sign someone else. I don't know. I know some Colts fans might be saying, "Oh, well, let's go out and get going all in for Watson." Well, then that defeats the purpose of getting Wentz, because now Wentz is going to be done, because Watson's going to get the job over Wentz. So, got to find a way. But the Colts here are in a very, very bad situation. And, they're going to have to, figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. There's been rumors. There's no doubt about it. There's been rumors about whether or not, there's been rumors about Foles going to Indianapolis. He's been in rumors all offseason. I know the Jets were in rumors with him picking him up to help out Wilson. So we'll see now what happens. But the Colts are going to have to make a decision soon, because you got to get the guy in camp and you got to get him going. If you do decide to go and get Foles, he has been in the system with Wright, but still, you got to get him in camp. You got to get him building chemistry with the receivers and the guys like that. You got to get him ready. So that's one of the big things. Everyone can sit here and say, okay, yeah, take your time, see how it develops. No, it's August 3rd. You got to get this quarterback into camp and get them going. So whatever the Colts decide to do, they got to make a decision quickly here. Obviously, not an ideal situation in Indianapolis there for the Colts. So that's what I got for Carson Wentz. Comment down below your thoughts. Comment down below who you think they will pick up. Are they going to pick up? Are they going to stick with their quarterback? Are they going to stick with what they got? Are they going to go out and get Foles? What are they going to do? Big questions lie ahead, and we'll figure all this stuff out soon here. Obviously, Carson Wentz, you look at his career, 16 games played, 13, 11, 16, 12. So, you can see can't really stay healthy, although last season he got benched, but still, 68 games played in his entire career. 3 out of his 5 seasons, he couldn't play the full games. So, it just goes to show you, he has not been able to stay on the field, has not been able to stay ready, and has not been reliable to be healthy. It's simple as that. There's no other way to put it. Alrighty, so that's what I got for Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts. Very, very, very bad situation over there. Coming up next here, the NBA yesterday practically blew up. A ton of moves left and right. Kyle Lowry goes to the Heat. Chris Paul resigns. Lonzo Ball goes to the Bulls. Trae Young gets a massive extension. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, massive extension. Nets re-sign. Blake Griffin, Curry extension. Moves left and right. Jimmy Butler extension. Some other little moves here and there. Knicks making some moves. Ton of moves. A lot of updates to get to. We'll get to more updates and the NBA free agency coming up next. Alrighty, so this says it all. First day of free agency was wild. That was it. Obviously, yesterday was the first day of the 2021 NBA free agency. Obviously, some big moves went down yesterday. I'll tell you what. So yesterday, you obviously, you get your phone and stuff. I get the updates right away from all my sports apps, but sometimes you don't see them right away. And you look on your phone and you're like, oh my God, what happened? Kyle Lowry to the Heat and Chris Paul re-signs with the Suns. And they were all happened bang, 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 bang. And they were all happened back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was crazy. So a ton of moves yesterday. Just absolutely a ton. Really, really, really crazy. Really crazy the fact that there was this many moves. And obviously, I'm not surprised that there was this many moves. It's just like this was even more crazier than the NFL offseason. So the NFL offseason, I find it's like this. The NFL offseason, it's a lot of like rumors and deals and moves that happen. Like it's a lot of like expected to sign here and they're closing on a deal. It's a lot of moves, but it's spread across the day. These moves happened yesterday in about an hour. There was about 10, 15 massive signings in about an hour. First off, we heard that Kyle Lowry went to the Heat. And then next it was Chris Paul, and I believe I'm getting it right. It's like Kyle Lowry to the Heat. Then it was like Lonzo Ball to the Bulls, which is a very big move there. I'll talk about that. That's a weird move because the Bulls are it's almost like the Bulls all of a sudden are trying to win. Like Zach LaVine, they got Nikola Vucevic. Now they add Lonzo Ball. Like they're all of a sudden now trying to go all in and win. Not saying that Lonzo Ball is going to carry their team to the NBA Finals, but it seems like the Bulls all of a sudden went from rebuild mode to restart to, you know what? We got an opportunity to win. We got an opportunity to go out and sign some guys. They're going to help us win. They're almost in like a win now type mode or going into that. And they're kind of like exiting the rebuild and going into more of a let's start winning type mode. And that was a very interesting move there too because Lonzo Ball, as much as he has not been the player that many people expected him to be when he's gotten drafted, he has improved over the past 2 seasons, I would say. Ever since he's gotten to New Orleans, he's been the better player. LA with LeBron and then by himself there, it was just not the right fit. The Lakers were just not the right fit for Lonzo Ball. Ever since he went to the Pelicans, met up with Brandon Ingram, guys like Zion Williamson, he's been a whole lot better, and he's been a different player. Now, is he still the guy that people expected? No. But, is he been better? Yes. Maybe does he now break out now pairing with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic? Maybe. But we'll see. And it was a sign and trade, too. So they traded Ball and they signed him. So 4-year, $85 million deal there. And Chicago sends Stoudemire, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick to New Orleans for Lonzo. So New Orleans gets Temple, who used to play for the Nets, and another guy and a draft pick. And the Bulls ultimately get what they want, and that's a guard. That's Lonzo, a guy who can feed it, guy who can do many different things. And like I said, back, when he was with, Los Angeles, as much as everybody wanted Lonzo to the Lakers and all that stuff, the big brand, LA, all that, as much as they wanted him there, at the end of the day, I strongly believe it was not the right fit. And you could disagree with me, you could do all sorts of stuff, no matter if LeBron decided to go to LA or not. If he never went to LA, at the end of the day, no matter what, Lonzo Ball would have not been a right fit. He just wasn't the right fit there. Just the media got to him. He just was not, I don't think he was able to fully focus on basketball. It was just not the right fit. Went to New Orleans, a smaller market. Lonzo Ball is the definition of like a small market player. A big market in LA, struggled. Goes to a small market in New Orleans, was much better. Going to Bulls, who are a pretty big name, but they're not the size of LA. They're not an LA type team, but they are known, obviously, MJ days and all that stuff. So definitely a very big move here. And now, Bulls last season, it's almost like the Bulls last year, they tried to go out and buy their way to the playoffs, buy their way to the play-in series. When they landed Nikola Vucevic from the Magic, they took advantage of the Magic having a fire sale. They tried their best to kind of come on in, swoop up Vucevic, pair him up with Zach LaVine, You don't know what the future holds for Lowry Markkanen there. So it's almost like the Bulls now are really trying to buy and really trying to win and give their fans something to cheer about. So Lonzo Ball to the Bulls. Definitely thought that was an interesting move. And I'll tell you what, the Knicks, a lot of Knicks fans wanted Lonzo. A lot of them wanted Lonzo. I didn't see Lonzo going to the Knicks, especially after kind of what I just said. I do believe Lonzo is more of like a small market type player. He does better when less attention's on him. I think he does better too when he's kind of the second guy there. Because when he first got into the scene with the Lakers, he was like the guy. Goes to the Pelicans, it's more Brandon Ingram, Zion, and then Lonzo. Kind of like the second, third option. Now he's going to the Bulls too, where he's kind of like a second, third option. He's not a first option. Lonzo's just not that. He's a second option. He's a third option. He's that type of player, and he's much better in that type of role. You give him too big of a role, he's not as good. Give him a little bit of a smaller role, a little bit more of a role of that plays to his strengths. He's a much better player, and it showed when he was in New Orleans. So we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. And then another big move, Kyle Lowry to sign with the Heat. So the Raptors really seem here, as much as I am really surprised and I don't really think they should enter a full-on rebuild, the Raptors seem like they're entering a rebuild. Now, this was not a trade, but the Raptors did not make any attempt whatsoever to re-sign Kyle Lowry. So Lowry now pairs up with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, which is very intriguing because Lowry obviously being a guard, being a guy that can score and pass and do a lot. He's an all-around solid player. Lowry's a guy that is Kyle Lowry's a very a likable player. Meaning likable, he doesn't have one major strength or one major weakness. He'll score, he'll shoot, he's not going to light you up, but he's going to score 19, 20 something points per game. Right? He's not a guy, he just goes out there and does whatever the team needs him to do. He's not all about himself. He's not all about trying to go up for 40 every night. Look at the numbers throughout his career. He's not a big point producer, but he gets assists. And I do believe he's going to fit in well with Jimmy Butler. Because Butler, a guy who likes to shoot, likes to score, likes to have the ball. Now you have another guy that can get him the ball. Now you have a playmaker here in Lowry. That was one thing the Heat were missing. Sure, you had Tyler Hero who could shoot and do all that stuff. Yeah, he wasn't as good as a playmaker. Now you have Lowry who can be your playmaker type to get the ball to Bam Adebayo, get the ball to Jimmy Butler. Not only do I think this is good for Lowry, get a fresh start, go to a contending team, try to win there. Obviously, he won with the Raptors, but now it's kind of time. Raptors are restarting. It's the right thing for Kyle Lowry to do. Now you go to Miami and you pair up with Adebayo and Butler, who frankly had a disappointing year last season. Obviously, after making the NBA Finals in the bubble, they had a disappointing season and a very disappointing playoffs. Coming in as a 6th seed and getting swept, not good. I think the Heat recognized they had to make a move. I think they realized the whole Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo thing wasn't working. They recognized they needed to go out and get a Lowry. They did. They recognized, too, I think other teams were in on Lowry. And Lowry signs a 3-year, $90 million deal. And it's a sign and trade with Toronto. So now Toronto is down to Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. Well, I very well think Siakam could be on the move too. And then you're left with VanVleet. And that's not a bad thing, because I do believe you could build around VanVleet. And I think now with Lowry gone, I think VanVleet's going to take over even more of a bigger role, a bigger leadership role, a bigger scorer role. Now that kind of the face of the franchise is gone, now VanVleet's like the new guy. He's the guy that's going to be relied on to score, the guy that's going to be relied on to pass, get the assist, dish out assist, play make, be the leader in that locker room. And now the Heat get a little bit of the Heat are now a little bit of a big three. Now you have Butler and Lowry, who are going to work well together. I think they should, I would assume. And then you get Bam Adebayo. Obviously, you've had Bam Adebayo here for a long time now, or you've had Bam Adebayo. So now you have Adebayo still, guy who can finish and do his job. So, really, You look at this. You look at the team, and just by getting one player, they look a whole lot better. And I mean, I even if they didn't get Lowry, I would still say they would be a threat in the Eastern Conference. But now, especially with Lowry, it is going to be weird though seeing Lowry now in a Raptors uniform, because he's been with the Raptors for what, so long now. So I don't even know if the Raptors made him an offer. I don't think they did. I mean, there was rumors of him leaving at the trade deadline, with them trading him. So no surprise that they didn't make a strong push for him. And given that this was the first move to a free agency, I believe, given that this was the first move of free agency, I believe the Heat were all in on Lowry for a long time now. It's just a matter of free agency officially becoming a start and agreeing on the deal and a sign and trade. Because I think a lot of teams were in on Lowry. I think Miami realizes, hey, we got to step in, we got to make a move. Because a lot of teams were in him. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. I think the Bulls knew the Knicks were in on him. A couple other teams are sure were in on him. New Orleans might have had some interest in bringing him back, right? Now with Lowry, I think there's a lot of teams that were interested. And the Heat had to step up to the plate, sign and trade. They get him. Lowry to the Heat. They now got a little bit of a big three going there. It's going to be interesting to see what Tyler Hero's role is now going to be. If he's going to be in more of a shooting guard role, if he's going to be more in a bench role. He had a down year last season, so it's going to be interesting to kind of see what his role's like. So Kyle Lowry, Lonzo Ball, to new teams as well. Chris Paul re-signs with the Phoenix Suns. I was very surprised about this. I don't know about any of you. Maybe you disagree with me. I was super surprised when I saw Chris Paul re-sign with the Suns. 4-year, $120 million. And he's being loyal. He is. He's being loyal. I thought this was going to be a 1-year thing, and I thought he was going to go sign somewhere else. Chris Paul is just not that kind of guy. Everything has to be earned with him, and I like that about him. You know, I think a lot of people out there, including myself a little bit, I think for sure some of us thought that he could have went to a really good team and kind of finals chase, ring chase. But he wants to earn everything. You know, he's trying his best to earn everything. And he's really making himself earn a championship. I would assume this is probably it for Chris Paul. Let's see. How old is he? 35, I think. 36. So he's 36 years old. Yeah, I think this is probably it for him. So at the end of this deal, he'll be 40. So yeah, so this is probably it. So this is just going to show you that he is really loyal to the Suns, and him and Booker, they believe they got something special brewing there. Because I think this is it. He doesn't win a finals within this 4 years, he'll probably be done. Unless if he plays past 40, which is possible, but he just won't be the same player. So, you know, I'm a little surprised. I thought, and I'm not even joking, I thought the Knicks were going to put a very big deal out there on the table. They didn't. The Knicks seem to be passive again. They just seem, you know, the Knicks do this every year. They just seem like they're more passive. They're just not, you know, all the rumors come in and they're not that kind of team. They're not going to go out and overpay for a player and hope that he does the job. And that's another thing, too, I said, you know, about Thibodeau and the Knicks, right? As much as you could dream and say, oh, imagine Kawhi Leonard and Damian Lillard here. Okay, that's not what Thibodeau wants to build. Thibodeau wants to build it with some homegrown talent, young guys. He wants to develop the young guys. He does want to get some, you know, added additions here and there. You also got to realize with the Knicks, too, Julius Randle, if he has another good year, you're going to have to watch out. Because this is going to be a guy that's going to want a big deal. So, he's going to be a guy that's going to want a big extension. Especially if he has another big year. So, if you go out and pay for a guy that wants a lot of money, you give him a lot of money, and then all of a sudden you got to turn around and Randle wants the money. Well, now that's where issues occur. And Thibodeau is just not that kind of coach. He doesn't want that. He wants to build his own culture with his own guys. Sure, add a couple pieces here and there, what they did with Evan Fournier, which I thought was pretty good. Re-sign guys that he really respected, like Derrick Rose, Nerlens Noel, and guys like Alec Burks, who Burks had a very good season. Very good season. Surprisingly good season. Gives them some three-point shooting ability for a team that lacked it a little bit last season. Derrick Rose, a veteran in the locker room, did a great job at the point guard. So we'll see. Now, I still do believe the Knicks point guard is still a little bit of an issue. And the reason I say that is because right, as much as you could say, I guess you could say Evan Fournier could take over at point guard, but you just got to watch out because, as Derrick Rose, he had a very good season last year for them, getting picked up there at the trade deadline. He had a good season. I understand that, but can you really trust that he's going to be consistent like he was? So I think Fournier was a good pickup. I think it was also kind of a safety blanket type pickup. Obviously guard's an issue. You're bringing a guy that's he's not going to be Chris Paul, but he's going to be solid. And they get that at Evan Fournier. Knicks free agent guard has agreed to a 4-year deal worth up to $78 million with New York. Gives him some guard play, gives him some shooting. It's going to be interesting to see how they pair all them up with the RJ Barretts of the world and all those guys. Does Derrick Rose still come off the bench, or does he maybe kind of get thrust into the starter role? That's going to be something interesting to see, too, because they did sign him to a 3-year deal here. So it's got to mean something. It's got to show you something that, Derrick Rose they've got to give him in a decent role, whether that's like a sixth-man role, whether that maybe they thrust him into a type starter role. We'll see how it plays out. I think the Evan Fournier deal was solid. It gets a guy that's going to be not Chris Paul. It's not Kawhi Leonard. It's not Damian Lillard. It's not Kyle Lowry. But it's an addition that he's going to give you some production. He'll assist. He'll do a couple things. And we saw him last season with Boston. I saw him in the Olympics. So he could do a couple different things. Like I said, he's not a top 10 player in the league, but he could still be. He's a solid addition. So you get Evan Fournier there for the Knicks. Like I said, I'm not surprised that the Knicks don't go out and get the big guys. I'm really not. And I've said this. Tom Thibodeau is building something there. Let him build what he's building. That's what a lot of people don't understand. People think that you could just bring in all these different guys. No. Tom Thibodeau is building something there. He obviously doesn't feel that these other guys fits. He obviously doesn't want to overpay for anyone else. I think this is maybe a little bit of a hint towards, if Randall has another good year, they're going to re-sign Randall. Because they didn't go out and spend a ton of money here. It could go to show you that a Randall extension is right around the corner. Because they want to save some money for him. But Tom Thibodeau is building something with the Knicks. Right? He doesn't feel the need. These other guys are good pieces. He wants to go out, get a couple pieces here and there, re-sign the guys that he really likes, and move on from it. That's kind of how the Knicks are going here. Some other moves here. Lakers signed Kent Bazemore. Some smaller moves here. Jazz re-signed Mike Conley. Bulls signed Alex Caruso. I think that's a very overpaid move, but it is what it is. Lakers signed Dwight Howard. I actually think that's a solid addition. Lakers also signed Trevor Ariza. Cavs give Jared Allen a massive deal. 5-year, $100 million deal. So this is a very good move. I like Jared Allen a lot. I've liked him, obviously, since he was with the Nets. I hope he does well with the Cavs. He's got a really bright future ahead of him. Definitely a very bright future, and a solid move there for the Cavs, a team that's building with youth and obviously getting a lot of guys that are young and trying to develop them. Disagree with this move, but it is what it is. Free agent, sharpshooter, agrees to 5-year, $90 million deal. That's Duncan Robinson. I don't agree with it. He is good at shooting, all that stuff. I don't agree with it, though. I think $90 million is too much for him, for a guy that's really just a shooter. That's how I see it. Mavs re-signed Hardaway Jr. Clippers re-signed Batum. Knicks re-signed Nerlens Noel. So just some other moves here and there. You get to some of the smaller moves, right? Nuggets signed Jeff Green from the Nets, 2-year, $10 million. So it's definitely a loss for the Nets. I liked Jeff Green a lot last season. Keep scrolling here. Reggie Bullock leaves the Knicks. He's going to Dallas. So he's gone. Knicks obviously re-sign Alec Burks, 3-year, $30 million deal. And by the way, so the Nets re-signed Blake Griffin, but it looks like, as I'm just going through all the different moves here, the Nets re-signed Blake Griffin, but it looks like Spencer Dinwiddie won't be re-signing, and it looks like Jeff Green will be gone. Or not, looks like he is, so he re-signed there. I'm definitely going to miss Jeff Green. I'm glad we got Blake Griffin back. He brought a lot of physicality last season, was a very pleasant surprise for us. here's my thing. And the Nets are actually interested in Patty Mills, who I think would be a decent addition, or a solid addition, I think. If you look at some of the numbers here, it's kind of hard. This is what stinks, is when you Google stuff and they play in the Olympics, you can't find any of their stuff because they're in the Olympics. Super. Okay. So Patty Mills last season averaged 10.7 a game, 1.7 rebounds, 2.4 assists. So nothing too special, but he could shoot. He's been in the league for a long time. 41 field goal percentage. Not a great shooter, actually. He hasn't been terrible throughout his career, but last season was not as good. He'll make some shots. He'll do his job. Nothing crazy. They were interested in him. Here's my whole thing, right, with the Nets and not re-signing Dinwiddie. Okay, it's not that I don't like Dinwiddie. I just don't think he fits what we're doing. Because I understand everyone's like, oh, we need a guard and we need a guy that's going to bench depth. And I do believe we need that. But Dinwiddie tries to be a ball-dominant player. We already have 3 of those. We don't need another. That's my take on it. It's as simple as that. We already have a lot of ball-dominant players. I really don't think we need another. It's as simple as that. I understand it gets bench depth and all that stuff, but with the re-signing of Blake Griffin and guys, stuff like that, I just don't really think he's that big of a need as many Net fans are saying. I don't. We have 3 ball-dominant players. He's trying to be a ball-dominant player. I just feel like he's not really fitting what the Nets are doing. That's all. That's what I see. As simple as that. So, I don't expect the Nets to be very, very active here at the deadline. I didn't expect it. They've got the guys that they want. They got Harden, Kyrie, and KD, and they're going to try again for a championship run. Simple as that. All right, so let's get to the New York sports update and finish this off here. Obviously, a very big day in free agency for the NBA. It's always first day for free agency in any sport is always the biggest. It's simple. It's always been that way and always will be. So, alrighty. So let's get to the New York sports update here. Alrighty. So as I mentioned earlier, terrible loss yesterday for the New York Yankees. But a lot of games were on yesterday as well. Giants won, Brewers won, Rangers won, Mariners won, Phillies won, and the Indians won. Marlins won as well, 6-3 against the Mets. Mets moved to 55-50 on the season. So, and the Yankees lose yesterday 7-1, as I mentioned earlier. Yankees lose. They moved to 56-49 on the season. Just terrible. 3 hits. 3 hits is not going to get the job done. Got to find a way to be much better. As for today, we got the Phillies Nationals. I'll give Phillies the win. Blue Jays Indians, give Blue Jays the win. Rays Mariners, give Rays the win. Red Sox Tigers, give Red Sox the win. Reds Twins, give Reds the win. Angels Rangers, give Angels the win. Brewers Pirates, give Brewers the win. White Sox Royals, give White Sox the win. Braves Cardinals, give Braves the win. Rockies Cubs, give Rockies the win. Giants Diamondbacks, give Giants the win. A's Padres, give A's the win. And Dodgers Astros, give Dodgers the win. Mets play today against the Marlins. Mets come in this game 55-50. Marlins come in this game 45-61. This game goes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Bally Sports, Florida. Mets got Taiwan and SNY. Mets got Taiwan Walker on the mound. He's 7-5 with a 3.72 ERA. Shocker, Marlins have yet to announce their starting pitcher. Oh my gosh, they are not on their game. They did not announce it on Sunday against the Yankees. They didn't announce it yesterday, and they're not announcing it again today. So, I don't know what it is with them, but they're not announcing their starting pitcher, so I can't tell you what the percentages of who's going to win because they don't have their starting pitcher announced. I'm going to give the Mets the win. The NOA probably. Probably. I'll just give the Mets the win. Anyway. All right, so as for today, we got the Yankees-Orioles. Yankees come in this game 56-49. Orioles come in this game 38-67. This game goes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find this game on MLB Network and Yes Network. The Orioles have got Austin Wells on the mound. He's 1-1 with a 5.28 ERA. And the Yankees got Nestor Cortez on the mound. He's 0-0 with a 1.93 ERA. The over and under for this game is 9.5. 73% of people think the Yankees will win. Even though we got smoked yesterday and we looked flat, I don't think I can't see the Yankees losing 2 straight against the I can't see the Yankees. Okay, I can't see the Yankees losing 2 straight. I just can't. I just can't see them losing 2 straight against a team like that. By the way, I messed up the name. Alexander Wells is the pitcher tonight for the Alexander Wells is the pitcher tonight for the Orioles. So I messed that up. I said Austin Wells, but he's in the Yankees organization. I messed up the names. So Alexander Wells on the mound tonight for the Orioles, and Nestor Cortez on the mound for the Yankees. I'm going to give Yankees the win. I can't see the Yankees losing 2 straight against the Orioles. As bad as we performed yesterday, I can't see it. I just can't. I cannot see the Yankees losing 2 straight against the Orioles. As bad as we performed yesterday, I just can't see it. Alrighty, as for today, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 37-25. So that's good. Today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Gene Segura, Austin Riley, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Jay Cronenworth, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Manuel Margot, Avisail Garcia, Josh Harrison, and Franmil Reyes. And I got Johnny Cueto on the mound. So I am still deciding on what I'm going to do here. I made an acquisition today. I added, let's see here. So I made an acquisition today. I added, or yesterday I did too. So I actually added yesterday Eric Lawyer. I added a starting pitcher. He did well for me. He got me 20 points yesterday, so he did really well. I ended up dropping him. I picked up Johnny Cueto. I'm finding that picking up starting pitching is big. So I picked up a starting pitcher today again, Johnny Cueto. He's facing against the Diamondbacks who stink. But that is not set in stone yet. I might drop him and pick someone else up. Or what I might do is I might drop another pitcher I have, maybe Kittredge or someone like that, and pick up someone else. So that's still up in the air, or drop Alek Manoah. Either or. So that's still up in the air. But as of right now, Johnny Cueto is. I might pick up the guy who's pitching today, Adrian Hauser, who's pitching today against the Pirates. Cueto, the last time he pitched against the Diamondbacks, I believe he got rocked. So I'm a little concerned. But I'll do some research. I'm gonna do some predicting there. I don't know. I just don't feel too trustable, Cueto. I don't know. We'll see, though. And injury update is as followed. Not much to report on the injury update other than other than Bregman and Cole. So let's get to Bregman here. Bregman quadriceps hamstring was scratched from Monday's lineup at AAA Sugarland. Chandler Rome of the Houston Chronicle reports. And Cole is out due to COVID. So let's listen in here. Let's get this. All right, so Cole will not. All right, hold on. It's got to load. Okay. So let's read this here. Cole will not make his scheduled start Tuesday against the Orioles after testing positive for COVID-19. Jack Curry of Yes Network reports. So he's out. He will not be on the mound. Today he will be pitching against the Mariners if his next start goes as planned, but who knows? We'll find out. So he's out. Nestor Cortez is in. Does not help. That stinks, but Nestor Cortez has actually been good for us this season. So you got to hope that Nestor Cortez brings what he's done all season long, and that's throw some junk pitches, throw a lot of off speed, and get the job done. That's what you got to hope. So that's what I got for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Yankees, Mets on tonight. So hopefully Yankees can bounce back. I would love to see the Mets keep losing, but Mets are against the Marlins. Not a great team. I think you got to expect them to win, but we'll see. And yeah, that's what I got. So as always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.